Hello, this is Janice, and we're back for another episode of Libertarian Uncensored podcast. Let's get into it. First, we have neo-Nazi group Blood Tribe threatening an LGBTQ event at a park in Watertown, Wisconsin earlier today from Patom 13, and that's a cross post from the public freakout subreddit. And I said, I think they're probably all feds. So it's why they have the same mask as the Patriot Front. So I think this is just another offshoot of that. It's probably just the same feds. Maybe an autistic guy or two who got wrapped up into it. I don't know. It's probably mostly federal entrapment. Like most of this stuff is all federal entrapment. Same kind of like Antifa, I think. Then we've made a mistake. Frisco police with guns drawn mistakenly pull over family head to a basketball tournament from CNN from Ninja Lover. And, that's just the police sometimes. Sometimes they'll pull guns on innocent people. That's just life. That's why I think we should try and avoid the police whenever possible, because they're just kind of, have their own agenda. Then we have Senator Bernie Sanders says millions of people can't find a doctor. Capitalist legal system rationing healthcare. Only the elites have access to their entire lives. From PoliticalFact.com, right Chi-Town 20. And, I think, the thing of healthcare is everyone thinks it's supposed to be free, but, you're not entitled to the labor of others. So I think you should know that, you're not entitled to the labor of others, but I think if you want to find a system where you can get healthcare for the government, I think you should be able to, but I don't think people should be forced to do that if they don't want to, because, maybe people want the government to spend money on something else, like UBI or public works or infrastructure, stuff like that. Everyone. So I think I think we should have a more a la carte tax plan, or maybe just separate everyone from their own governments, and then if they want to pay taxes to their government and their government will do things, they should be able to. That's my thought. Everyone should have their own things they want to do, and I don't think anyone should be forced to pay for something they don't want to. But healthcare is something that you need to pay for, or need to have someone pay for, because you just can't. You're not just entitled to free labor. Nigeria has suspended the forced export of gold and uranium to France this Sunday with immediate effect, from ZambianObserver.com and everyone by Chi-Town. And I think that's good. I think this Nigeria stuff and all this West Africa stuff, it's all just, neo-imperialism. So it's, you see it every couple of years, so I don't really care too much about that. It's kind of like, France is kind of like, that's kind of like their Middle East, the West Africa, where it's like all their kind of puppet states down there, and they've been there forever. So yeah, that's why I think they're. Then we have, if you see someone stealing food or any other necessity, no you didn't, from Chi-Town 20, and that's crosspost from the Murder by Word subreddit. And I said, what did I say? The problem is that when this occurs on a grand enough scale, the store can't afford to stay in business, and you end up with food deserts. And Chi-Town replied, that's good. If overloads of power are starving the local population, they should have all their wealth confiscated. And I said, like your favorite complex hero, Stalin, and linked to the Wikipedia page for the whole lot more. So, that's how, they think, Stalin is a complex hero. So, they starve people to death too. But, the thing is, you're not entitled to food, because food isn't just magically produce itself. Food requires labor like healthcare, and that's why you're not entitled to it. Then we have, they relief link Uyghur kids being taught Mandarin Chinese is, in addition to the Uyghur language genocide, a cross post from the Shit Liberals Say subreddit by Chi-Town 20. And I think, it does probably constitute a cultural genocide. With that being said, I do think the Uyghur genocide is hyped up by the media because they want war propaganda for China, just like how the media also hypes up a lot of anti-Russian Russia stuff because they want war propaganda for Russia, because they just want war. The media and government clearly have shown that they want war with Russia, China, Iran, probably some other countries as well, and they will stop at nothing until they get it. So that's what I see here. Then we have Starve to Death is the best way to save money in capitalist society by Chi-Town 20. And I said, food isn't free. It doesn't just magically end up in packages and groceries. That's the thing. Sometimes you might have to skip meals. You might not be able to obtain meals, but sometimes you might starve to death. It's life. If you can't get food, you starve to death. That's life, because food isn't free. And sometimes you might be obligated, you might have to starve to death, and that's sadly how life is, because, life is unfair. Not everyone can obtain all the resources they need to survive. Life is cruel like that, and that's sadly how life is. Not everyone's going to have infinite resources for everything they need. Then we have union membership increases household wealth by nearly 4 times for the working class families by Chi-Town 20, and that's across from the work reform subreddit based on a tweet from the Working Families Party. And I personally think unions are kind of overrated. I think they just kind of, you have to pay your dues to them, and they're kind of inherently collectivist. But I think if you want to form a union, I think you should be able to form a union. And I think, if you want to, support, not being in a union, I think you should be forced to join a union. So I think the thing is, unions are collectivist, and they can do, bargaining, collective bargaining. But I think the thing is with unions is that they are also looking out for their own interests as well, and that's why I don't know if we should, we should think they're this universal good that the leftists are making them out to be. Anyone surprised? No, I'm not. But what about that honkin' daddy Hunter Biden wiener? And that's a cross post from the White People Twitter subreddit by Chi-Town 20, apart from the Media's Touch Twitter account. The list of Republicans much type star witness Devin Archer. That's why President Biden never discussed business with Hunter in close to hearing that Bruce P. disaster for the GOP. Of course, that's biased. I think they did find that he testified Joe Biden on Stupendous Man says here he testified Joe Biden has owned more than 20 business calls made those were people who work for orgs that say it's into Biden's money. That's the thing though. They can take that and say, those calls weren't classified as business and make it their thing. So, it's just, they're all corrupt, yet they only seem to care about when Trump does it, not when anyone else does it. So that's why I think, you see Trump getting all of these indictments, but that's why I think a lot of people are just fine voting for supporting Trump, because, they're all corrupt, but they only seem to ever go after Trump for it. Then we have Trump only represents one Republican capitalist faction, planning on a liberal capitalist faction to take over the U.S. from peoplesworld.org by Chi-Town 20. And that is from so that's what's that story about? Trump only one of many. That's the thing, we live in a world where pretty much everything that disagrees with the official DNC narrative at all is fascism, and anything that disagrees with the official RNC narrative at all is communism, so I don't really take those words too seriously, If the authoritarians are already in charge of the U.S., if they're just slightly different, I don't think it will change too much. They're chanting "Kill the Boer." The Human Rights Court says, "Don't worry, it's just a song they sing for their culture." When farmers are then slaughtered, they tell you, "Don't worry, the farm murders are just ordinary crimes. It's nothing to do with these murderers' chants." From Wanjiro Najoya on Twitter, and I posted that, and I said, "It's non-incitement of violence when it supports the narrative. The same could not be said if the races were reversed, at least according to the progressives." And I also linked a tweet from Aaron McIntyre. Look how New York Times, for instance, they framed it as killing a white farmer becomes a flashpoint in South Africa outside a court hearing for 2 black suspects in a murder case. White Afrikaners, nostalgia for the apartheid era, and black protesters angry that whites still own those farmlands squared off. And I like what Aaron McIntyre commented on the tweet. Don't want to get murdered, you might be racist. This is the thing. If you question the DNC narrative at all, even if it says, "Oh, don't murder me," that's now fascism, racism, white supremacy, all the whatever the buzzword of the week is. Then we have the Elon Files. Twitter bans ad showing Republican interrupting couple in bedroom from independent.co.uk from Skull Whisperer. And, I think the thing is that, it's Elon's website. I think he should be able to ban whatever ad he wants. But the thing is, I think that does go against free speech. I would agree there. And, yeah. I think, it was kind of a very circle jerky ad, but, people should be allowed circle jerk if they want to, because that's all that people seem to do on the internet. Then we have free market in blue Colorado. Democratic Governor Jared Polis argues for economic freedom from John Stossel on YouTube. I posted that and I said, Polis definitely had some problems with stuff like lockdowns, but if the Dems were trending in his direction, I think I would have been less likely to have left the party. I never said Polis wasn't the best when it came to code. Being the best still wasn't good enough. If someone shuts your business down for a week, that doesn't mean you should be grateful to them compared to the guy who shut down your business down for 2 months. I do think you could argue it was more justified in the March/April 2020 period when we knew less about the virus, at least compared to the average Redditor who still wants to be locked down to this very day. With that being said, I do think you should let perfect be the enemy of good here. We need to let each person react to the virus as they saw fit. You do see a lot of Reddit types who say, "Oh, I miss lockdown. Lockdowns gave me freedom." It's like kind of like George Orwell wrote 1984, "Freedom is slavery." So that's how bad it's getting. When random redditors are and when these Reddit authoritarian leftists are an increasingly large group, I think they do make the basis for a good argument. This Reddit kind of authoritarian leftist kind of NPC logic is increasingly permeating the discourse, and I think that needs to be stopped. So that's my thinking there. Then we have in private messages, DeSantis ally Pedro Gonzalez argues Nancy Pelosi is Jewish and faults Trump for condemning white supremacy from freeweekend.org.com from Ninja Lover. And, that's just kind of the thing. You have crazy people like this on all the political spectrum, but they only seem to ever go after the ones when they go against the official DNC narrative, it seems. The same regime that claims to be committed to equality put you into essential and non-essential categories only a few years ago from the LP National on Twitter, and I posted that, and I said, they also flagrantly violated their own rules all the time. It's almost like they want to do nothing but rule over others because they do. And they say, "Oh, it's what happened to the Republicans." Well, I said the Uniparty is a regime. They both are two sides of the same shit coin. The Republicans and Democrats are pretty much the same, especially how they justify authoritarianism and what suits the narrative. And that's why I don't really care too much for either of them. Who values the family unit more, the average member of the Chinese Communist Party or the average American progressive activist? From Angela McCardle on Twitter, and I posted that. And I said, average CCP member, it's not close, sadly. Most U.S. progressives are open that they consider the traditional family unit to be white supremacy. And I posted the link from the Newsweek, Smithsonian Race Guidelines, Rational Thinking, Hard Work, or White Values. The thing is, and if you disagree with the official DNC narrative at all, it's white supremacy, fascism, racism, whatever the other buzzwords are, and that's why I don't really care too much when I'm called those things anymore. It's like the boy who cried wolf. Eventually, you just kind of stop caring. When hate speech being normalized does, from the Hassan Piker subreddit, across posts by Chi-Town 20, and that's a 17-year-old white killed a black for that's the thing is, I do think we shouldn't be justifying violent speech, but some people are going to be inherently violent, and that's just how life is. You just can't make violent. You just can't make any people doing. So you have like 300 plus million people in the country. You can't make everyone be a good boy every single day. That's just kind of how the world works, and people need to realize that. Houston put a volunteer on trial for feeding the homeless. A jury ruled he was not guilty from HoustonChronicle.com, and from Ninja Lover, and I think that is. I definitely would agree that it's government overreach. Mayorkas pressed over DHS labeling protesters domestic violence extremists, and that's Cori Bush said, no, they're not, because, there was a Stop Cop City in Atlanta, so they were probably more left-wing protesters, and I said, I think Bush would be fine if their politics were different. If they were more conservative protesters, he'd be fine labeling domestic violence extremists, even if they didn't do anything that was violent. So, it's people will justify whoever they justify being labeled as the enemy class, domestic violence extremists, as long as they disagree enough with the narrative. Then we have short video clips of MAGA Nazis explaining that in their own words that they mean when they say "Make America Great Again," turning the clock back 100 years and taking away women's right to vote. And that's cross-post from the conservative terrorism subreddit from Chi-Town 20. And I like what Omega Phallic says here. I can cherry pick crazy Biden supporters too, who supporters to like the hashtag Kill All Men defenders. You transparent and pathetic. I agree there. The thing is that Chi-Town has a narrative that they need to uphold, and that's that the right is bad, left is good, and that's just kind of what they post. So we're almost done there. Ron DeSantis just sent this letter to VP Kamala Harris. Harris criticized the slavery was beneficial for slaves claim pushed by the Florida Department of Education, and that's from that's crosspost from the DeSantis Threatens USA subreddit. So I don't really care. That's kind of another agenda post. Ron DeSantis has an agenda, but Kamala Harris clearly does as well. So that's something to think about. Then we have RFK Jr. Super PAC got more than half its funds from GOP mega donor. GOP oil oligarchs also funded the controlling the Libertarian Party and the Green Party. That's from Politico.com, across from the Moderate Politics subreddit. And I said, yep, all third parties were created to deny Democrats their God-given right to the presidency. Sarcasm. That's the thing is, all the parties are corrupt, but the Democrats only seem to think that all the other parties are corrupt, not them. That's sad. That's the sad truth. Then we have Kevin McCarthy threatened to beat up Democrat Eric Swalwell at the House floor at this pair cursed at each other report. The GOP, the pair of a party of authoritarian tyrants from BusinessInsider.com and everyone by Chi-Town 20. And I said, Cory Booker said he wanted to beat up Trump once, but Chi-Town wouldn't care about that. It's all theater. They all get along well behind the scenes. The problem with liberty is that most people don't know what to do with it, and that's from a self-post from Beige Forever. There are some core tenets of libertarians and almost never get discussed here. Government should be an instrument of correcting causes of force or fraud, nothing else, and individuals look to government to do what they need to do for themselves. The above presumes a leveling of core values across society. We can't even agree on if gayness is being a thing taught in schools or if Trump's where we be commander in chief, spoiler, yes and no, respectively. So, the thing is that I agree, the thing is that liberty, everyone wants liberty for themselves, but, they think some things might violate their liberty, and that's why, it's a hard word to define. I think liberty is, you gotta have people inside standards and that. You can't have just murdering people or, raping children. And, sometimes it can be really hard sometimes it can be blurry. I agree. So that's something that I think, is important to remember. Then we should be terrified of the tyrant Elon Musk from Chi-Town 20. That's this one from the Libertarian, the Conservative Terrorism subreddit. And I personally don't agree too much. I think, Elon's just kind of a knucklehead. I don't think we should be scared of him too much. I do think X is increasingly, it might become like an app for the social credit system. But other than that, I think, that's probably going to be more the government forcing it on him than Elon forcing it. But, I don't think Elon's your friend. He's an authoritarian as well. A little of his, how he claims to be a free speech absolutist, but he's not really. And I think that's important to note. But I don't think he's one of the biggest problems today. But that's my thoughts. Meta-analysis shows left-leaning economic views correlate with lower intelligence from Roomwise Circles, and that's supposed from the ncbi.nim.nih. And yeah, so I personally think, it's any study can be modified to your agenda, and that's what usually yeah, so that's something I think here. FBI used foreign intelligence surveillance act program to spy on Americans from Reason.com by flimsy L5563. And I said I would be shocked if there were any less than 50 government programs designed to spy on Americans. Then we have Trump charged by Justice Department for efforts to overturn his 2020 presidential election loss. Fascist capitalist coup attempt to stand trial from APnews.com by Chi-Town 20. And I agree that Trump's he's kind of goes against might is kind of tiring when he does all the crazy stuff. You could argue violates law, but I think they're all corrupt. Yet they only seem to ever charge Trump for it. Then we have NYT, Trump's stronger winning position in 2016, right from breaking points. And I said, if a political party or the media frames every election has an existential crisis that cares much more about winning than anything else, that's pretty much all this is. Media fear-mongering, get more Dems to the polls. And let's see, is there anything else that's new? And I don't think so. So I think we're going to wrap it up there. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.